Hello students, I once more welcome you in my lecture series on modern optics for Physics 1. Myself, Dr. Sucharita Bhattacharya, Associate Professor of Physics from Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, is delivering this session for first semester BTech course, and the streams under considerations are Computer Science and Engineering, Information Technology and Food Technology. Today I am delivering lecture 5 of my lecture series on modern optics for Physics 1. Let us now take a look what is there in today's lecture session. Actually, we are right now in submodule 5.01 on laser of the module 5 on modern physics. Now, today I will do the lecture session 5, that is the fifth lecture, which is the last lecture on laser. There, we are going to discuss the multiple choice questions on laser as well as the solutions of few numerical problems on laser. Okay. Now, let us start with the multiple choice questions. How many characteristics are there in a laser beam? The options are given as 3, 2, 4, 5. And you students, I am sure, know the correct answer. There are 4 characteristics of a laser beam. They are monochromatic, they are directional, they are coherent, and they are very bright. So the 4 characteristics are the correct answer. Next question. The energy of a photon E is equal to hc by lambda squared, hc by lambda, 0, hc. Now students, you all know the energy of a photon E equal to h nu. Now here no nu is given. Here in terms of c and lambda, the answer is given. Now we know that c equal to nu lambda. So nu equal to c by lambda. That means out of these 4 options, option B is the correct option. That is hc by lambda, because it is h nu. Nu means c by lambda. So we got the correct option as the option 2. Okay. Now come to question number 3. What is the frequency of optical signal? What is the frequency of optical signal? That means light wavelength, you all know the corresponding frequency you have to get. Now, what is the order of the wavelength of the visible light? We all know 4000 angstrom to 8000 angstrom. Okay, that means 4 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter to 8 into 10 to 10, 4 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter to 8 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter. Now what about the frequency? Again the same formula, mu equal to c by lambda. So if you put the value, what you will get? It will come out as 10 to the power 15 hertz. It will come out as 10 to the power 15 hertz. Okay. Not 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power 8, 10 to the power 11. It is 10 to the power 14 to 15 hertz. It is the frequency of the optical signal. The wavelength you know, and you just combine it. The unit have to be carefully chosen, because if you consider that T in SI, then you have to consider the lambda in SI2, and you will get the corresponding answer, because C equal to 3 into 10 to the power 8. And what about lambda? It will come out as 10 to the power minus 7 meter in the denominator. So 10 to the power minus 7 will go up to give you 10 to the power 15 hertz. And I hope you can get it. Let us now move to the next question. That is, atomic population in different energy states of a system in thermal equilibrium is governed by Bragg's law, Boltzmann distribution law, Einstein equation, Wien's law. I think it is very, very common to you. Atomic population, lot of time we have spent here. So atomic population in different energy states of a system in thermal equilibrium is governed by Boltzmann distribution law. Isn't that? Let us now move to question number 5. minimum number of energy levels required for sustainable laser action is. You all know the correct answer. Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Obviously, for sustainable lasing action, 3 is the correct answer. We have discussed it in very detail in our lecture session. So, minimum number of energy levels required for sustainable laser action is 3. Let us now move to the next question. The color of the output in case of ruby laser. The color of the output in case of ruby laser, it is very easy because ruby color is nearly matching with that one. What about that? Red, blue, green, yellow. Obviously, the output wavelength is 6943 angstrom or 6927 angstrom. Both fall in the red region of the visible spectrum. So definitely color of the output is red. Let us now move to the question number 7. The wavelength of helium neon laser output. Wavelength of helium neon laser output. You students know that. 632.8 nanometer, 532.8 nanometer, 713.4 nanometer, and 450.6 nanometer. These are the 4 options. Now we have done this in the last class and we found that the wavelength is in the visible range of the spectrum for helium neon, and that is 6328 angstrom. It has been shown here in nanometer unit. So definitely it is 632.8 nanometer. Okay. Let us now move to question number 8. The metastable state has a lifetime of 10 to the power minus 3 second, 10 to the power minus 5 second, 1 second, 10 to the power minus 9 second. Obviously, metastable state means it is 10 to the power minus 3 second is the lifetime. The metastable state lifetime is obviously 10 to the power minus 3 second. That is 1 millisecond. Here it is given as 1 second, not 1 millisecond. Okay. Now let us move to the next question. Active medium in ruby laser. Ruby, aluminium, chromium, copper. Now, active medium means which is capable of amplification in presence of population inversion to give you the laser output. And obviously that is in this case is chromium, aluminium is a host crystal, and ruby means aluminium oxide with some of the aluminium replaced by the chromium. So active medium is obviously chromium, not anything else. Pumping is done in helium neon laser by optical method, current injection, electric discharge, none of the above. In the last class, we have gone through in very detail. Optical method is used for ruby laser. Current injection we haven't encountered till now, but electric discharge is the process through which pumping is done for helium neon laser. Okay. Let us now move to the next question. In a gas laser, generally, optical pumping is not applied as absorption band of the medium is very narrow, absorption band of the medium is very broad. It cannot excite atoms in such a high energy states. None of these. I am repeating the question. In a gas laser, generally optical pumping is not applied as absorption band of the medium is very narrow, absorption band of the medium is very broad. It cannot excite atoms in such a high energy state, none of these. Obviously, this is the gas laser case, so absorption band of the medium is very narrow. That is the correct answer. The wavelength of ruby laser is 694.3 nanometer, 692.7 nanometer, 500 nanometer, 400 nanometer. Look at the wavelength of ruby laser. 4 options are given in nanometer. You have gone through it in the last lecture session where we got 6943 angstrom and 6927 angstrom as the two output wavelengths. Here they have changed it to the nanometer and we got 694.3 nanometer and 692.7 nanometer. So the correct options are options A and B both. Correct options are options A and B both. For this type of questions, normally in multiple choice type, there are two options given for 2 marks. Okay. Ratio of helium and neon in the helium-neon laser. The ratio of helium and neon in the helium-neon laser is, it must be small e. It is my typing error. Okay. Please consider it as 8 small e helium-neon laser. What about the ratio? 3 is to 1, 5 is to 1, 76 is to 1, 10 is to 1. Obviously, 10 is to 1 is a correct option. We have gone through it in very detail. 10 is to 1 is a correct option. Next question. In case of laser, variation of divergence of a laser beam with distance. Very careful about the statement. In case of laser, variation of divergence of a laser beam with distance gives the idea about monochromaticity, coherence, directionality, brightness. So 4 properties are given. What is asked? Variation of divergence of a laser beam with distance. So if laser beam diverges with distance, then which property you are encountering? Is it monochromaticity, coherence, directionality, or brightness? Obviously, directionality will be the answer because we are considering the variation of divergence. So, it is directionality or collimated property. I think all of you understand, isn't that? Now let us move to question number 15. Lifetime of ordinary excited state. Very easy. Lifetime of ordinary excited state. What about the lifetime? 10 nanosecond. 10 nanosecond. So 10 to the power minus 13 second, 10 to the power minus 15 second, 100 second, 10 to the power minus 8 second. Now what about 1 nanosecond? 10 to the power minus 9 seconds. So 10 nanosecond means 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. So option D is the correct answer. Now let us move to the next question. Ratio of Einstein's coefficients. Ratio of Einstein's A and B coefficients are proportional to nu 1 by nu cube and nu to the power 5. Ratio of Einstein's A and B coefficients are proportional to nu 1 by nu cube and nu to the power 5. Obviously, this is nu in terms of nu we have given it. That's why nu is mentioned. Now, what about the nu dependence? Obviously, it is nu cube. Ratio of Einstein's A to 1 by B to 1, it is proportional to nu cube. It is proportional to nu cube, cube of the frequency. So, this is the correct answer. That is option C. Okay. Let us now move to the problems on laser. So, almost 16 MCQs we have done on laser. Good number of MCQs and questions are definitely good one. So I think all of you understood all the questions. Now let us move to the problems on lasers. Now the first problem, find the energy difference between two energy levels of an atomic system if the transition between these levels gives a photon of wavelength 694.3 nanometer. Also calculate the number of photons emitted to give a power output of 3 milliwatt. Just take a look. you are asked to find out the energy difference between two energy levels of an atomic system if the transition between these levels gives a photon of wavelength 694.3 nanometer. Also, you are asked to calculate the number of photons emitted to give a power output of 3 milliwatt. So let us take a look. What is there? Given is lambda 694.3 nanometer and power is given as 3 milliwatt. Now you are asked to find out the energy difference, that means C2 minus C1, that is delta E. This is nothing but H nu. H nu equal to Hc by lambda. Already we have gone through it. So we know the H value 6.62 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. C is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. And lambda value is given as 694.3 nanometer. So 10 to the power minus 9 will come here. Mind it, sometimes mixing of units are there. You have to convert them in a single unit. The answer will come out as 2.86 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. Now, this can be the answer, no problem. But if it is asked to find out the answer in electron volt, that is EV, you can simply divide this joule by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 to get 1.7875 EV. So, it is given in joule and you can convert it into EV depending upon the questions what is given. You can go either of the way. Okay. Here it is not mentioned. So both the units I have shown. Next question is, what about the number of photons emitted to give this power output? Now power means we know energy per unit time. So let us consider N be the number of photons emitted per second to give P equal to 3 milliwatt. So P equal to 3 milliwatt power, 3 into 10 to the power minus 3 watt. That is equal to N into delta E, because N is the number of photons per second. And what about delta E? For each photon you are getting energy difference delta E. So what about the total energy per unit time? Number of photons is N. So N into delta E. So we have to find out N. Delta E value we know. Delta E value just you can put here and you can get the value. Okay. So we are getting it as 1.049 into 10 to the power 16. Let us now move to the next question. In a helium-neon laser transition from E3 to E2 level gives a laser output of 632.8 nanometer. If the energy of the E2 level is 15.8 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule, how much pumping energy is required, assuming no energy loss? In a helium-neon laser transition from E3 to E2 level gives a laser output of 632.8 nanometer. Now energy of E2 level is this. So how much pumping energy is required? Just take a look at the diagram. It will make everything clear. So E3 to E2 energy transition is there with wavelength 632.8 nanometer. And you are asked to pumping energy required where energy of E2 is given. So definitely E pumping energy means this energy plus the difference of this energy, isn't that? This energy plus difference of these two energy levels. Now this energy is given 15.2 into 10 to the power minus 19. And what about this energy? That is E3 minus E2. Let us find out that E3 minus E2 delta E, that is H nu means Hc by lambda, because lambda is given here. We know the value of H as well as we know the value of C. Mind it, both are in SI system. Planck's constant 6.62 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. Not joule per second, it is joule second. And lambda value is given and you will get the value of delta E equal to 3.1 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. So 3.1 into 10 to the power minus 19 plus 15.2 into 10 to the power minus 19. What we are getting? 18.3 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. Definitely in EV you can get it by dividing by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. You can get it. So in either of the units you can express if nothing is mentioned. Okay. Next question. Two plane mirrors forming an optical resonator in a laser system are at a distance of 1 meter. Find the frequency separation between two consecutive modes in the longitudinal cavity. I am repeating, two plane mirrors forming the optical resonator in a laser system are at a distance of 1 meter. That means small d equal to 1 meter, the separation between the mirrors. Find the frequency separation between two consecutive modes in the longitudinal cavity. So the path difference in one complete round trip, we know that is 2d. Now 2d equal to 2 meter. Now at resonance, what happens? 2 pi by lambda into 2d equal to 2m pi. We have discussed that. So 2 pi will cancel out and we will get lambda equal to 2d by m. Now you are asked to find out the frequency separation. So that is equal to c by nu. That means you will get nu equal to c by lambda. Nu equal to c by lambda. Isn't that? Rather c by, what is nu? Nu equal to c by twice d, because here lambda is not given. From this expression, take a look. 2d by m equal to c by nu. You are asked to find out delta nu. So delta nu equal to cm by 2d. Now what about m? The number of modes you are asked to find out for consecutive modes. That means delta m equal to 1. So delta nu equal to c by 2d. Delta nu equal to c by 2d. So corresponding frequency separation between two consecutive modes is this one, because delta m equal to 1. So C value you know, 3 into 10 to the power 8 by 2d equal to 2. So we are getting cycles per second, that means hertz. So delta nu equal to 1.5 into 10 to the power 8 cycles per second, that is hertz. Something different, a little bit different. Easy question, but framed in a different way. Isn't that? Okay. Let us now move to the next question. Calculate the probability of stimulated emission if the probability of spontaneous emission is 0.07 in a laser action which radiates 6328 angstrom wavelength. So you are asked to calculate the probability of stimulated emission. That means B21. If the probability of spontaneous emission is 0.03 in a laser action which radiates 60 to 8 angstrom wavelength. So let us take a look. The formula is very straightforward. You are given A21 equal to 0.07 and lambda equal to 6028 angstrom. You are asked to find out B21. Okay. Now A21 by B21 equal to 8 pi 8 mu cube by C cube. A huge formula it is. So definitely A21 by B21 we are getting like this. So we have put the value. Now what value are given and what you have to put. B21 is unknown to you. So B21 equal to A21 C cube divided by 8 pi 8 mu cube. Now you are not given mu. So we will express in terms of C cube by lambda cube. C cube will cancel out. Now you are getting B21 equal to A21 value is given very small 0.07. Then C cube. What about C? A21 C cube divided by 8 pi h nu cube. So we are getting A21 lambda cube because mu is not given. By 8 pi h C cube cancel out. So we are getting A21. Next is lambda cube. What about lambda? 6028 angstrom. So 6028 into 10 to the power minus 10 whole cube, both. Then 8 pi h. H is 6.62 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. Accordingly, we have converted lambda in meter. Be careful about this point. Okay. Now we are getting B21 as 1.066 into 10 to the power 12. Now you got the answer. That part is okay. But one thing you have to be careful about. This is A21 very small. This is B21 very large. So rate of stimulated emission exceeds the rate of spontaneous emission. So definitely light emitted by such device obviously is coherent, and that's why you are getting the lasing output giving a wavelength of 6328 angstrom. Here it may be asked to give you the comments. Very, very important point. Look at the relative magnitude of A21 is 0.07. That of B21 is 10 to the power 12. So the rate of stimulated emission is much larger than rate of spontaneous emission. So light emitted by such a system obviously is coherent, and definitely it is a laser system and giving 60 to 8 angstrom output. That means it appears that it may be the helium neon laser, isn't that? Next question. A relative population. Look at the statement. A relative population, that is Boltzmann ratio of 1 by E, small e, is representative of the ratio of population in two energy states at room temperature of 27 degrees C. Determine the wavelength of the radiation emitted at this temperature. So very, very interesting phrase they have used. A relative population, it is called Boltzmann ratio also, of 1 by E is representative of the ratio of populations in two energy states at room temperature of 27 degrees C. Determine the wavelength of radiation emitted at this temperature. Now, what about relative population? Obviously, N2 by N1. N2 by N1 is called the Boltzmann ratio or relative population. Value is given as e to the power minus e2 minus e1 by kt. We have done this. If it is n1 by n2, then it will be e to the power plus. So be careful at this point. Relative population means n2 by n1. So e to the power minus will come because in n2 population is less than n1. And that is equal to e to the power minus h nu by kt, because E2 minus E1 equal to H nu, we all know. Now in the question it is given that it is equal to 1 by E. That means e to the power minus 1. So let us compare them. Let us compare them. Rest of the thing is very easy. H nu by kt equal to 1. Minus minus will cancel out. So H nu equal to kt. Kt means H into nu. Now nu is C by lambda. Nu equal to C by lambda. Now lambda equal to Hc by kt. You are asked to find out the wavelength. That's why we have converted nu into lambda. So lambda equal to Hc by kt. Now H value 6.62 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. C value 3 into 10 to the power 8. And K value 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 joule per Kelvin. That is the Boltzmann constant. And T. Be careful. This is capital T. So you have to express in Kelvin. It will come joule per Kelvin. So Kelvin will cancel out. And since small t is given as 27 degrees C, so definitely it will be 273 plus 27. That is 300 Kelvin. And you got this as 4.797 into 10 to the power minus 5 meters. Look here. This is, what about the unit? This is 6.62 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. and this is meter per second. So second cancel out, joule into meter, and here it is joule per Kelvin into Kelvin. So joule will cancel out, ultimately meter will be there. So I think all of you understood this question very clearly, but only the statement you have to identify and then make it equal to 1 by E equal to E inverse. Okay. Let us now move to the next question. Find the ratio of the rate of spontaneous emission to the rate of stimulated emission at T equal to 1000 Kelvin for visible radiation of frequency 5 into 10 to the power 14 Hertz and microwave radiation of frequency 10 to the power 9 Hertz. Comment on the results. So this is something very special. Just take a look. You are asked to find out the ratio of the rate of spontaneous emission to rate of stimulated emission at T equal to 1000 Kelvin. For visible radiation whose frequency, take a look, 5 into 10 to the power 14 Hertz. Few minutes back, you got the expression in the form of option as 10 to the power 15. It is 5 into 10 to the power 14, nearly 10 to the power 15. And microwave radiation of frequency 10 to the power 9 Hertz. Be careful about this 10 to the power factor for microwave range, and you are asked to comment on the results. So, what about the ratio of rate of spontaneous to rate of stimulated emission? We have done this in very detail. Today we will now apply it for practical cases in the form of visible radiation and microwave radiation. Now the ratio R is defined as rate of spontaneous emission to rate of stimulated emission. And we got the expression as e to the power h nu by kT minus 1. R, the ratio of rate of spontaneous emission to stimulated emission is found out to be equal to e to the power h nu by kT minus 1. In our lecture session, we have derived that. Now the first case, we have to use this. In the first case, we have to find out the value of h nu by kT. After that, we can get the value of R. Now, what about h nu by kT for the visible radiation of frequency 5 into 10 to the power 14 Hertz? So, h value you know. Now, nu equal to 5 into 10 to the power 14. K value you know. Now, what about capital T? Capital T is 10 cube Kelvin. That is 1000 Kelvin. Okay. So let us first take a look at the 10 to the power factors in numerator and denominator. It is 10 to the power minus 20. It is also 10 to the power minus 20. So these factors will cancel out and you will get a small term, that is 23.98. Actually, I can't say small term, only the fact I want to mean that 10 to the power factors are not there. Okay, a finite term. It is better to say finite term. 23.98 nearly equal to 24. Now what about R? R equal to e to the power h nu by kT. Now h nu by kT value what you got? That is 24. That means e to the power 24 minus 1. Okay. Now exponential series, what is the value? E to the power x. 1 plus x square by 2 factorial plus x cube by 3 factorial, like that. That means that one and this one will cancel out, and then you will get 24 plus dot dot dot. Okay. So it is definitely much larger than 1. Now look at the expression for R. So rate of spontaneous emission is much larger than rate of stimulated emission. As R is much greater than 1, so rate of spontaneous emission is much larger than rate of stimulated emission. What will happen at the output? Emitted light is incoherent. If spontaneous emission dominates the stimulated emission, there will be no phase correlationship and emitted light obviously will be incoherent. You are asked to comment on the result. Okay. So this is the comment for the first case, that emitted light is incoherent. because rate of spontaneous emission is greater than rate of stimulated emission. Now come to the second case, that is h nu by kt. H nu by kt, again we are writing it, only new value will change, that is 10 to the power 9. New value will change, that is 10 to the power 9. Other things is remaining same. What we are getting, 4.79 into 10 to the power minus 5. 4.79 into 10 to the power minus 5, which is definitely very small. 10 to the power minus 5 is coming. So 0.00004 will come, okay? So it is very, very small. Naturally, R equal to e to the power 4.8 into 10 to the power minus 5 minus 1. So obviously it will come out as much, much less than 1. Because e to the power of this factor, 1 will cancel out, plus x means it is a fraction, plus x square by 2 factorial, even smaller, very small, next one even smaller. So obviously R is much, much smaller than 1. That means rate of spontaneous emission is much, much smaller than rate of stimulated emission. Rate of stimulated emission, on the other hand, much larger than rate of spontaneous emission. Obviously, if stimulated emission larger, so emitted light will be coherent because there will be phase correlation between them. So emitted light is coherent. Obviously, now here I want to mention a very, very important information. You got it during the lecture session. That is measure. Now look here. What about measure? Microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Here you are getting for microwave radiation of frequency, the emitted light to be coherent because rate of stimulated emission exceeds the rate of spontaneous emission. And you already got the message that Einstein's idea was first used in case of the microwave forming measure. After that, we got the laser. Okay, that's why it is called that measure is the forerunner of laser. Measure is the forerunner of laser. Microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Here it is done first using Einstein's theory. Working fast, it started working fast, then laser. That's why that is regular visible light. That's why measure is called the forerunner of laser. Okay. Now, the students, you are getting what is the implication of comments on the result. This is a very, very interesting and very good problem. Conceptually, everything can be made clear if you exercise this type of problem. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. In the next class, what we will do the application of the laser. We will do the application of the laser, and then we will extend our application in the form of optical fiber communication, very, very special and famous one. Till then, thank you, my dear students. Let us now take a break for today. Stay safe and stay healthy. Okay? So, thank you.